Again in South Sudan, where hundreds have been killed in fierce fighting. The violence started Thursday in the capital of Juba. At least 270 people have been killed in battles between the rivaling factions. CCTV's Jim Spellman is joining us. And Jim, the fighting is for the UN Security Council to be meeting like any minute now.
Yeah, but it's not clear what options they will have to try to bring peace to South Sudan. Clearly still a chaotic situation there. Sporadic reports of small arms fire and artillery fire since late Thursday. The fighting is between forces loyal to President Salva Kiir and the first Vice President Riek Machar. The conflict between the two sides dates back to the civil war that began in 2013. Vice President Machar fled the country then, but returned in April to form a unity government with Kiir. The two factions have struggled to work together. On Friday, bodyguards for the president and vice president exchanged gunfire outside the presidential palace while the two men were meeting inside. The fighting has spread to other parts of the country, forcing many to seek shelter in UN compounds. Civilians are being urged to stay indoors. On Sunday, Kiir and Machar both called for calm.
The unprovoked attacks in Raja, Wau, Kajukeji are cases in point. Thousands of civilians in these three towns have been displaced, and hundreds were innocently killed. Our people should not be dying at this time when there is a signed peace agreement in the country.
This is a bad incident which blurs most of what we have been doing, but we will overcome it. And that's why we're sitting together.
But take a look at this. This was just moments before that press conference. As the two men were preparing to speak, gunfire broke out just outside the palace, forcing journalists there to take cover. Not clear that either leader has control over their forces. A number of peace deals have already fallen through. Saturday was Independence Day in South Sudan as the nation marked its 5th year as a country, but there was little to celebrate, Susan.
So we don't know what kind of action, if any, the UN will take.
We don't know what options they really have to bring short-term peace. Anyway, the country's been struggling under economic pressures, especially with low global gas prices. The Security Council, the UN Security Council, will be meeting this afternoon in New York to discuss the matter. The EU condemns the fighting, and neighboring Kenya is urging the militaries to move soldiers and artillery at least away from civilian areas. Kenya Airways have suspended flights to Juba. A Chinese peacekeeping battalion was deployed in the capital, Juba, to protect UN staff and local civilians. The Chinese troops will oversee peacekeepers from Nepal and Ethiopia. The Chinese troops are conducting surveillance patrols in high-risk areas and guarding some other areas like refugee camps. The Chinese troops working with Indian peacekeepers have managed to escort thousands of civilians to 2 makeshift asylum areas over about a 7-hour period on Saturday. They're using heavily armored vehicles to form a perimeter and keep those civilians safe.
All righty, Jim Spellman, thank you for the update.